How's it going, guys? One minute to go. 'What's up, Fish? Ten seconds. All right. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining this Core League mid-season update. I'm Cody Workman. I hope you guys like that. Some little new bells and whistles that I'm trying out here. First off, thank you to my fellow Core League broadcaster, Jet Kraus, also known as NASCAR and MDK, for about the entire hour before this, helping me get this set up. So, yeah, simply what we're going to do here, with it being the halfway point here in the Core League season. We're just going to take a little bit to look at each driver, look at the season as a whole, and maybe have some awards, quote awards, to hand out some people here at the halfway point of the season. But I mean, first off, man, guys, what a season it's been so far. And while we're chatting here, if you have any questions you want to ask me, go ahead and go in that live stream, go in the chat there and use hashtag #YoWorkman, and I'll answer your questions if you got any. So first off, let's just kind of go down the list of the season so far. So we started off at Daytona, where it was obviously hype over a long off season, and yeah, we had an amazing Days of Thunder there. We had Windvow uh, show great speed all there, as well as Joseph Lombard, and then probably the most aggressive guy that entire Speed of Weeks was Cody Hicken, and he set the tone. He set the tone in the very first in his duel that he had, and with that trademark four-wide move on the bottom of the inside of the apron that propelled him to uh, good finish there, and then that kind of set the tone how he would race in Daytona, and he ended up winning Daytona. Then we fast forward to Richmond, where we saw the absolute dominance of Winval, where he nearly put the entire field of lap down, and the only guy who could really keep up with him was Dale Reynolds. And then the next week we go to Homestead, where it was, we finally saw the first race of Sloppy Joe this season, and it was a battle between him, What If, and Dale Reynolds for that top spot, and then some late race cautions, shuffled all types of stuff, and then we had rookie sensation Drive Through end up getting his first win of the year, and he backed that up a week later at Canadian Tire. So the next race after that, I gotta think, where did we go? Where did we go right after this? I've got to look here. While I'm doing that, let's just see some people who are in the chat. Matt Decent, thanks for joining. Fish, thank you for joining also. Jimmy, how's it going? Cody H, Rusty Walrus, Rusty, my man, thank you for hopping in here. It is awesome to see you guys hopping in here, and um, so yeah, that's just kind of been going through the gist of everything we've seen to this point. So I know there's some other races I've left out here, but well, let's see. Oh, of course, how we can forget. After that, we had the string of Sloppy Joe's dominance. Sloppy Joe finally got his very first win of the season at Kansas. It was a very entertaining race, in my opinion, one of my favorite racetracks, and just absolutely dominated the field there. And then a week later, he goes into the All Star race and he kicks butt in that. Same thing with Michigan. Michigan, like there was some competition. Unfortunately, there were some pit road issues that kept What If from getting the win. But other than that, it was still a great performance there. And then last week at Bristol, even though there was only 9 cars, it was still plenty entertaining. We had a special guest last week for those who did not see the race. We had Ryan Vargas. Having Ryan Vargas in the booth was an absolute blast. I'm glad that for once I wasn't the guy that people relied on for like the driver knowledge. So it was nice to have an actual driver who's raced at that racetrack with the traction compound at Bristol and everything, just telling us, with his experience, what the guys racing there last week are gonna have to deal. And so, with that being said, now here we are, next race of the season, and we are heading to Watkins Glen, which is AKA one of, if not probably my favorite racetrack, just because I love road courses in general, and they've always proven to have some of the best racing, and should be interesting. As the top storylines are going to be, can Sloppy Joe hang on this amazing run that he's put together so far, or can we see someone like Drive Through get his third win of the season, and can he sweep the road courses? And then also, can What If, he's been Mr. Consistency this season, and we've talked about it in plenty of the pre-races where it's almost a flip where last year Dale Reynolds, he held the point lead practically the entire season without a single win, and he did not get that win until the championship race at Atlanta, and that win is what gave him that championship. And What If last year, he was the guy who was at the end of last season. He was the guy, he was the sloppy Joe, if you may say, who was racking up these wins, but it was just some stuff that happened in the early season with him just making mistakes and races and whatnot that cost him those points. So not necessarily that Sloppy's made mistakes, but just with him missing the first 2 races of the season, and also the 5-point penalty entering from the summer showdown, which we will not talk about on this program. Uh, so, with that being said, I told you guys that I have made a list of all drivers at this point of where I think they rack up. Now, there are some guys that I do not have included on this list strictly for the purpose of they have either left or quit the league, or they said that they're taking an absence, but they're not sure if they're going to come back or not. So I'm going to do my part and try to include where they would be theoretically. Um, but just out of respect for the amount of guys that are still in this league and racing, those are the only guys that I really ranked up to this point. So we have 14 guys that I have ranked in the overall rankings, and let's get into it. Now, for each guy that I go through, I'm going to go through what I think they're doing extremely well to this point, like how they're doing in the league overall, and then what are some things that they could either improve on or watch out for. So, uh, yeah, so let's get right into it. So, number one, as we are halfway through this course season, is, you probably guessed it, Sloppy Joe. And I think there is no denying it. The man is on an absolute roll right now. 3 wins in the last 3 starts, and if you include the All Star race, you can say that he got 4 in a row. And every single race, and every one of those wins, it wasn't just him showing up late. He absolutely dominated those races. So those wins that he's gotten, he's earned, and additionally, he's practically had max points days. The only thing that has kept him from getting max points days is not necessarily getting the pole at every single race. But the past three races, he has A, obviously led a lap, B, won all the races, and C, he's also led the most laps. So you may think about yourself, well, that's only 1 point, but we saw last year it came down to 1 point, and that 1 point is what gave the Reynolds championship. Uh, and that's the other thing too. Why people are saying Sloppy is so aggressive because he knows what he's under. He came into this. He didn't start this season until the third race of the season, and after that, and he had a 45-point deficit. 45 points, and now yeah, he's made it up, but it's only 19 points. And you think about it, he's cut that in half, but that's including this role that he's been on. So you have to think that like even though he's on this role, if guys like drive through and what if, especially who is our current points leader, if they're still consistently up there, even with Sloppy, if he keeps winning a bunch of these races, or if he wins like doesn't win all of them, but wins like half or the majority of the races of the rest of the season, will it still be enough to get him that championship? I think, um, I still think he like. There's no question. There's no reason why he wouldn't be in contention to get the championship. I still think though that he needs to have those top two, what if and drive through, to have some bad luck. Drive through has had some, I wouldn't say bad luck, but things haven't been going his way the past couple weeks. So that's one thing Sloppy has going for him. But what if has been the most consistent man this entire season, racking up third place finish after second place finish, third place finish, third place finish, second place finish, and so forth. So with that being said, my recommendations for Sloppy Joe is one, keep doing what you're doing because one, you're making your competition have to race harder when they see you going after all those bonus points. And also too, I mean, you can't really afford to let your competition finish in front of you because even after that Homestead race and in some of these races too, where even if he had a second and third place finish, the guys that were, but at the same time, you gotta understand too, Sloppy is in this position where, he cannot afford to have any races to lose points. So he has to race aggressive, but he has to race smart and he has to race consistent without making much mistakes. So that for me is Sloppy Joe in a nutshell of where he is at this point in the season and what he needs to do going forward. Number two on my list is Brian Pasternak. What if racing? Uh, Said before, I said it again. Most consistent guy on the season, and I am utterly surprised that he has not won a race this season yet. Um, but literally, he has finished second or third in practically every single race up to this point. I'm just going to pull up my stats here. Forgive me here while this uploads a little bit. But I mean, yeah, I'm looking at his stats right here. In 7 starts, he has 6 top 5s, and then he have had a top 7. I think that tops that one top 10 outside of like the top 5s where he's finished every single race and so far was mainly from the case of that Homestead incident where his caution reads cautions and he got shuffled to the back. But literally, he has finished, his average finish is 3.86. That is amazing. Um, so as far as what I have for what if going forward, one, I think he's got to get that win. And mainly from like not just from like a points perspective, but from a confidence booster perspective. I mean, we see it a lot of time just in NASCAR too. That some of these guys, like if once it took them forever to get that first win, then that's when they fired off. I mean, look at Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott went his first 2 seasons in the Monster Energy Cup Series without a win, but then once he finally got that win uh, at Watkins Glen, halfway through, actually more than halfway through his third season in Cup, that's when he just started firing off wins and stuff like that. So And I think it's going to be the same case too with the what if. That I think if he can let's get like a winning run together, that'll give him the confidence that he needs. And like hey, Sloppy Joe isn't the only one that can like start winning races in this league, and so and because we even saw last week how he was somewhat keeping up speed with Sloppy at Bristol and at Michigan, and unfortunately, I call him the most consistent guy in the league, but I think he's also the most unlucky guy in this league with all the times he's gotten screwed over by the pit stop glitches and whatnot. So, um, and I guess my advice to What If after all that is patience and don't lose your cool. Um, because I think because the run that he is on right now, if he has something that deters him, like another glitch or whatnot, and he gets too caught up high in the emotions of that, then that's where he can fall into trouble. Now, I think What If he personally, I think he's one of the best drivers in this league that handles misfortune. Misfortune doesn't really uh, I say deter him. Like, if he gets knocked back, like fine, whatever, he drives up through the field. And we've seen it race after race too between like having to start towards the back. I believe it was at Richmond, and he had to come up through the field a little bit, and then after he got the free pass, he had to work his way through lap cars or whatnot. And I mean, just little things like that. And so he's a really patient driver, but at the same time too, I think he can start pushing it a little bit. So those are your top two. So number three on the list is drive through. This guy has been by far the biggest sensation in this league. And I know it's like, well, yeah, like he's a rookie. Yeah, I mean, there's only been 2 seasons, but, still, like personally, I haven't really even heard of drive through or race with them at all until this core league started. And when you get to race around a group of guys for even if it's just like for a few months or a year, like these guys from season one had, you start to build this chemistry with one another, and you know how to race each other, you know how to race them on the racetrack. Drive through, he has had to come into like one of the few rookies on the circuit and has had to battle and race with these guys who frankly like have been racing with each other forever. Um, or at least to my knowledge, he hasn't because I haven't seen him. So, um, but with that being said, he has done a phenomenal job racing with a new group of guys and racking off wins. I know some people may say, oh, he lucked his way into a homestead win because of all the cautions or whatnot, but still, even though he wasn't like the top three drivers the majority of the race, he wasn't necessarily up there with Sloppy Joe, uh, with What If, and with Dale Reynolds. He was still like solidly running in the top five all night, and he had a good car. So drive through, he does a really good job at getting the most out of his car and being at the right place at the right time to pounce on certain opportunities. Now, fortunately, he made a mistake last week at Bristol where he didn't pit on mistake or whatnot, so he had to rebound from that, and he didn't have the best finish there. But still, I think, with us going into our second and last road course of the season, Watkins Glen, this is a race that he has had circled on his radar just because drive through is, I would say, the road course ringer of the core league. And spoiler alert, he is my pick to win tonight. Just for, yeah. Those of you who are tuning in, congratulations, you got a spoiler right there. So, but yeah, he is my pick to win tonight. And I think that even though I said he's in a little bit of a slump, if he can get some momentum going again, he's still going to be one of the guys to look into for this championship. So here's drive two. Number four, I have WinVal. Uh, and I'd say the biggest disappointment about WinVal has just been him simply not being able to show up to the amount of races he's been able to. He's missed like 3 or 4 so far. And I feel like if he'd been able to make every race of the season up to this point, he would easily be in the points lead by this point. Maybe not by a whole lot, but he would still be our points leader. And when we look at where he is in points right now, he's actually behind Sloppy Joe right now. He is sitting fourth place in the points, and he is 31 points back. Um, I wouldn't say it's impossible for him to come back, but he is going to need some luck from those guys in front of him. Those guys in front of him, they are going to have a bad race or two for him to get back in this championship hunt. I think even if he was theoretically go out and win every single race in this point, I still don't think he'd be able to get the championship unless those guys in front of him were to have some bad races. So my suggestion for Winval is, I mean, yes, we know obviously people have stuff to come up and for a lot of these guys, like their outside lives are more important or whatnot. Um, but still, if if Winval wants to have a shot at making the championship, winning the championship, I just think simply he just has to show up to more races, and if he shows up, then the results will be there. All right, so he's number 4. Number 5, and this guy, I believe, wins so far this halfway point of the season, wins the most improved driver of the year award, and that is Brendan Littell. Brendan, especially the past 2 weeks, he has had top 3 speed. He was the only one that was really consistently keeping pace with Sloppy and What If at Michigan. And then last week, at Bristol, he was really the only one that could keep up and really challenge Sloppy, at least on the short run. And then unfortunately, he just made a small mistake where he spun out his car around. But even after that spin, he still came back for, I believe it was a top 5 finish. I may be wrong, but I believe that's what he got. So, um, and with Brendan too, I believe that the guys that we have listed so far, Sloppy Joe, What If, Drive Through, Win Val, and I'm gonna throw Brendan in there as well. I think those 5 guys are going to be the only 5 that are going to have a shot at this championship as it stands right now. I think theoretically, think Brendan is going to need like a night and day switch to try to make a championship run, but he's kind of in the same situation as Windvow, where he's going to get a couple wins and have those guys in front of him have a few races of trouble. I won't say it's impossible for him to make a run. I think it is possible, but it's going to be extremely difficult. And so, that being said, I would say for what Brendan needs to do is he needs to not doubt himself. And I'll tell you why, because we've seen sometimes on Twitter post race or what like pre race or whatnot, him like, oh, I don't know if I got the best car, and I'm like, well, if that may be true, you're only going to do as well. And I tell this thing, I say the same thing to it's a little shameless plug. I say this to the same guys that are in like Carnation Cup team or whoever, any of the young drivers that I kind of talk with and work with who are in leagues or whatnot. I tell them this all the time. You will only do as well as you think you're going to do, and that's from a self confidence issue. Granted, yes, I mean it's okay to think like okay, yeah, I you know may not have the best car, but I am gonna go out and do the best I can to the best of my ability. And when you go in with that mindset, even though you could have the most terrible car on the racetrack, you will do better. You will do better. It's just a mindset thing, and I think that is the biggest challenge when it comes to Brendan. Like the the guy has incredible speed, and we've seen it. We saw it at Richmond. He was in contention late at Homestead for the win. He actually was the one that gave Drive Through that shot into Lombard. And then after that as well, like, gosh, what I'm just checking up the chat here, but after that as well, like he even had great speed at Michigan and then decent speed at Bristol. Uh, so yeah, the guy has speed. He can win a race. He won, I believe, a Auto Club last year, and it wasn't by a fluke. He actually drove up there and won that race. So, Brendan, if you can just keep that self confidence a bit, I think you could still have a shot at this thing. There we go. I'm just gonna check up here on some there what you guys are saying. Good times. So, Rusty Wallace says good times. Rusty says please roast me. Stick around, Rusty. Stick around. We'll get there. Okay. So those are the top five, and I believe are those one of those five guys are going to be your champion. Sloppy Joe, What If, Win Vow, Drive Through, or Brendan Littell. Those will be one of those five will be your champion. Number 6, I got Darren Gill. Um, the guy has had some up and down races for sure, but there has been points where he has shown some decent speed, and like he's had some, good top five cars. He had a chance to win Daytona. Um, I know Kansas, he was up there doing pretty well. I can't remember. Did he finish top five or not? I'm gonna pull up. I'm gonna go into my stats archive here real quick here. Let's see here. Yeah, so he has, even though like he only has one top five to his credit, I still think he's better than what his stats shows. I mean, yes, he's had 7 top 10s. I will give him that. But then again, when there's really only on average like 14, 15 drivers per race at the most, I mean, top 10 is really only like, hey, congrats, you're finishing in the top half, top 2/3 of the field. But I mean, it's still good. But when you're looking at overall bigger picture, I think what he needs is a little bit more top four finishes. So that being said, I think another thing with Darian too, I think like sometimes you need a little bit over aggressive, and I bring up Martinsville where I don't know if it was just a messing around or whatnot, but really early in the race, he and Jarrett Lundberg were really going at it, and we were calling it up in the booth, and it was like only lap 30, and these guys were really going at it hard, and like guys, settle down here, settle down. Like there's a lot more race to go here, and it was kind of daring. He was kind of instigating it, and he was a little bit rough around the edges too at Bristol last week as well. So my advice for Darian is, I would say, cool it a little bit, uh, like on the aggression side or whatnot. I know he likes to troll a little bit with my boy Roots, and I'm not the happiest fan about it because Roots is my boy, and he's always like give him Roots crap and whatnot. So, uh, yeah, just work on that a little bit. Working on it a little bit. So, all right, Darian's number 6. Number 7. Oh, and by the way, something I want to add too. I would mention some guys that who left the league where I put them in. Um, Raw Gator. I know, like there is. I will say there is some mixed reports that he may be coming back or not. Um, but just going off of with him saying that he's leaving core, uh, I would have easily had him in the top five easily. He was actually my power five before he announced that he left, and I think that's kind of the biggest disappointment was to see him leave. So sucks to see him gone, but I definitely thought that he was putting together a decent run towards the championship. Shame to see him leave, but considering he's just wanting to focus on some stuff personally and whatnot, totally get that, totally respect that as well. And then the same thing with Dale Reynolds. He ended up missing. Excuse me. He ended up missing a few races before he announced that he was leaving for a while, but it was kind of frustrating too because even the race that he was making, even though he had decent runs, he was just getting terrible luck. And like even though he was up towards the front, he was finishing towards mid pack, back of the pack, and uh, definitely thought he was going to be a contender too, but unfortunately, uh, he isn't there. But Dale, we hope all is going well and hope to see you back soon. Number 7. Here we go. Number 7. You guys are gonna think I probably pick on this guy a little bit, and spoiler alert, I will be tonight in the pre-race show. So make sure you check out the pre-race show. Joseph Lombard is in number 7. Joseph, gosh, should I say this or not? Should I say it? I'm gonna say it anyway. He is almost like Kyle Busch of the Core League. There, I said it. He's kind of like a Kyle Busch of the Core League. Here is why I say that. The guy has great speed. He's had winning cars before. He almost won Homestead before he got that bump and run from drive through. But we've seen it now in a few races where when Joseph gets frustrated, he starts doing bad. And I'm going to address this. I'm not going to fully go into it because I'm going to do an in-depth analysis of this in the pre-race show. But at Bristol, he got loose and he ended up getting the car going again. But then he ended up getting loose again, and he and Cody ran into each other. And he was all flustered that there wasn't a caution that came out, and and then by the end of the night, like he ended up finishing 5 laps down, and that was all based off of frustration and just him losing focus and just dropping like a rock. And even the same thing too at Martinsville. Uh, Martinsville, like when he had the issue of ended up leaving the race, like I can understand where the frustration comes in there with like no option to leave the race. Like it just says like resume or disconnect, and if you accidentally hit disconnect, bam, you're out. It doesn't give you an option, like this option, like are you sure you want to leave? Which I think there should be. But the whole reason he was in that predicament was because he was getting flustered and whatnot from the people that was in the party with, and so he left while he was on pit road. Not really, not so. With him doing that, he wasn't giving full attention to the race at hand. He was more concerned about leaving a party at that point, and because of that, wasn't paying attention. Left the race. So Joseph, my friend, my advice to you is just get the emotions together, buddy. Get the emotions together. You have phenomenal speed. You have race winning cars. But whenever something happens to you and you get flustered or frustrated or whatnot, you don't do a good job at coming back and rebounding from that. So, if you can improve on that, and I believe you can do this, I'm not saying you're terrible. I'm saying if you can do this, I don't think I think your championship hopes like are done at this point, as well as everyone who's not in the top 5 in points, or their hopes are over. But I think you can still make a decent run as a at a good points paying finish, and also gain like an overall like wins before the season is over as well. So, and what I say is like Kyle Busch, we see Kyle where he gets when he gets flustered or whatnot, he just starts running into people and starts cussing people out and loses his cool. So that's why I say he's like Kyle Busch. So I don't know. I gotta see what reactions I get from the chat on that. Uh, see, no one's really said about that. Oh, I see. Get the towel. Hold on, Jimmy. Hold on. That'll come later in the program. I'm gonna start going through these guys a little bit because that's just taking a little bit longer than I thought. So number 8 on the list is Cody Hicken. Ah, Cody, Cody, my fellow Cody. For those who don't know, I am Cody as well. So it's even spelled the same way too, Cody. So Cody, I thought he was going to do a little bit better than where he is currently right now. Like he had, first of all, what he did at Daytona freaking amazed me, and it surprised me, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is phenomenal what he's doing. I think this could be like a turnaround year for Cody. And ever since that win at Daytona, he hasn't really had much luck. He's always been consistently in the back half of the top 10. Like he's always consistently been like a 6th, 7th, 8th place car. And at one point at Bristol last week, he was in the top 3, but like you just couldn't capitalize on it. He had some mistakes as well. He ended up splitting out with Lombard there as well and finished toward the back. So Cody, here's my advice to you, man. Just continue to log laps in. do the best we could do. I think you're better than where you're running right now. Uh, just keep grinding it out. Well, I can only say for Cody. Alrighty, number 9. Yo, Rusty, you in here? Yep, I see him. Yep, he just commented. Okay, Rusty, Rusty. You are number 9, my friend. And I have to say that I am sorry to say this, but it's kind of been a disappointment in the sense that a lot of people, as well as myself, thought that this was going to be like, light switch, oh, you're going to take off and get a, you know, great season. Um, Fortunately, it hasn't been that. Let's be honest. Been towards the back of the pack a little bit, and haven't necessarily had that top 10, that top 5, top 9 speed. However, last week at Bristol, I know we can say the thing like oh well, guys run out in front of you, whatnot. You still kept the car on the track. You weren't getting the car loose. You never spun out. You ran an amazing race up to that point with a solid top 3 in the Dale car, the Dale scheme, might I add. And which, by the way, maybe you should run that a little bit more often. I know I would be a big fan of that and a high endorser of you doing that. Uh, but, Rusty, I want to see if you can keep this stretch going. I think if you can build off the momentum of this third place finish at Bristol and build up on top of that, uh, I think you could still try to silence some of the haters out there. Let's see, oof, let's see what he's saying. I'm a 3% race type of guy. Yep. Uh, what your streak ends tonight? Yeah, I heard something about you not being too confident, but hey, I worked with you before Watkins Glen last year, so maybe you can take some of that knowledge and that finesse and get from that point. So, by the way, too, for those who are watching, I'll get to some questions later once I'm almost done wrapping up with you guys' rankings. Just use in the comment section in the chat, use hashtag Yo Workman, and then type out your question, and we'll try to get to it. All right, I'm gonna move fast through these guys. I promise. I just spent a little more time on Rusty because he's my friend and he's been in here since the beginning of the stream. So, okay, number 10. Ed Soundhead. And the reason why Ed is that low is because he's been sick and he's only made a few races. So he would definitely be in the top 5, maybe even in the top 3 if he can make more races. But he is in 10th place for the sole purpose of him not being able to make more races. I know he wants to get back on the track. I heard that he may be racing tonight, and I hope so because I miss seeing Ed out on that racetrack because he's one of the guys always up there towards the front. And I know he had a decent run going at Richmond coming through the field. He had a phenomenal move there on like the last restart, working his way up through the field. Uh, my advice to you, Ed, get better, buddy. I know I'm getting over a little bit of a congestion myself, but I know like you've had absolute flu, fever, whatnot, and that sucks. But hey, take care of yourself, and we hope to see you back on track soon. Number 11. He is my man. He's my boy. He's season 1 1.5. It is Mr. Michael Roots. Michael, I think Michael has only he's only done 3 races so far. He had Richmond, where he was doing good before he spun out on the apron, and then he also came down the pit road, and right after he pitted, caution came out. And then he got a 6th place finish at Canadian Tire, which is decent. And he was one of those cars in contention for the win at Homestead. And in my heart, I was like, Michael, please get this win. While I was commentating, I was like, come on, buddy, get this win. Because I thought he had a chance to do it. And I think I maybe dead wrong, but I believe he either qualified on pole or he qualified top three at Homestead. So he had a good car, and he's only been in 3 races, but he's had great speed. So, Michael, Michael, please make some races, please. We miss you. Michael, do it for Jimmy. Do it for Jimmy. Jimmy wouldn't want you to see you quit. That 48 car needs to be running around on the track. It needs to have a good quality world class racer dab in that car. So, Michael, we miss you. We love you. Hoping you race tonight. And I think he is supposed to race tonight too, so that's going to be fun. Number 12, and by the way, I got 3 more drivers to rank. And then this is the last guy I'm only going to spend like a decent amount of time on. Number 12. I know you're my co-owner, Jake, but that doesn't mean that your rankings are that I'm going to give you bonus points. Jake Bassinger is in number 12. Uh, I am going to call him this. Well, I'm not giving him this label because he gave him this label himself. He is the Danica Patrick of the core league. And I don't have any shame in saying that because he gave himself that label. So I will say though, I was thoroughly impressed with his run last week at Bristol. He drove his way all the way up to the 4th position around Darien, around Brendan Littell, and I think like it was like on the last lap, whatever, Darien or Brendan or whoever ended up moving up out of the way a bit, and he ended up finishing 6th. So I know he didn't get that top 5 finish, but still, that is a phenomenal improvement to where he has been running. So Jake, my boy, my co-owner, Octane Hero forever. Uh, I would say for you, just keep getting laps logged in. I know Jake doesn't race uh, as much or isn't and like does as much racing compared to a lot of these other guys, but I have seen and some good steps for him that he's doing. Is that he's put out on Twitter that he wants to get involved in some additional races and stuff on the side to just like get more time in the car, which I think is great on his part. And then last 2, not really much to talk about these guys. I mean, I'll talk about them just because they said they haven't left core at all. But number 13 is Ray Jacobs, Kamikaze Games. He only ran 1 race. I think finished. Where did he finish? Did he? I think he finished like in like 6th or 7th at Homestead, which was phenomenal considering he isn't necessarily the best guy. But then I believe it was Michigan, whatever. He raced partway through and he ended up backing up. Yeah, he didn't get a top 10. I think it was a 6. What place did he finish? I'm trying to look here. Oh, it doesn't have it just has it from like it has it from both seasons. So, or no, he has from he did get a 6th place finish or 7th place finish. I can't remember. But so, I will say though, where I kind of a fan of Kamikaze though is we both have this deep disdain, dislike for Joey Logano, and that earns him some points in my book, as well as him being a snowcross fan as well, which I found out last week on Twitter. So I appreciate that, but yeah, you're number 13. Kamikaze, join some more races. And then number 14, last but not least, he's only made 1 start so far this whole season, is Mr. What Incarnation. Carnation, I don't know if you ever want to race again in this league or whatnot. I know I would like to see you in this league, like race a little bit more. But yeah, I really don't know what to say about Carnation because he hasn't really been here. Uh, so yeah, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about Carnation really because he only ran Daytona. I mean, he was decent up to the top 10, but I only have 1 race to go off, so he's 14 back there. So, alrighty, now I said we would get into some awards, and keeping in the spirit of my Jimmy Spencer finesse. We're gonna do some awards that Jimmy kind of handed out. I won't do the exact ones, but here we go. Like just based off of like the halfway point in the season. So everybody ready? Call your brothers, call your parents if you want to see a reincarnation of Jimmy Spencer here. As per usual on the pre-race show, we'll do that. By the way, continue to put those questions in if you haven't already. So, alrighty. So, I will say, well, I have 4 awards to hand out here. Well, I'll just go through them. I got the Cheers Award right here. Cheers to a great season so far. And I gotta use water because I feel like I couldn't use, like, Blue Moon or Shack Top, whatever, or any sort of alcoholic beverage on a stream. But anyway, the Cheers is not necessarily for the best driver. I will say it's for a driver who has been phenomenal, as far as like either like from an improvement from last season or coming in as a rookie. And the Cheers Award goes to Drive Through. I mentioned it earlier. Drive Through has done a phenomenal job entering this season, being a new guy, being a rookie, not necessarily racing around these guys, and for having 2 wins on the season. Cheers to you, Drive Through. All right, I was kind of needing that too. Alrighty, next award I got the Dirty Mouth Award, and I think we can agree who is the Dirty Mouth Award. Mr. Dale Reynolds, Mr. Radio Sweetheart himself. I don't know if I can go back and play it or not because I don't want to like fish through it or whatnot, and I don't want to go to Dale's stream himself. But let's just say that for the amount of beeps that I heard in Radioactive, I've been wondering if I could apply that to like a new rhythmic song or whatnot. Like I hear beep, 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 beep. Like, Dale, settle down, buddy. Settle down. So I think like Dale just clean it up a little bit, but I think he's been our radio sweetheart whenever we had the Radioactive. So Dale, you wouldn't say those words in front of him, like I don't know, like either family members or whatnot. I know I wouldn't say terrible words in front of like my mama or my grandmother or my godmother or in front of the elderly or whatnot. But clean up the mouth, Dale. Clean up the mouth. Hope to see you back soon, by the way. Alrighty. Let's see. I'll do this one because I think I know which one you guys want last. I think I know which one you guys want last. So far, driver of the first half of the season, we can all agree, goes to Mr. Sloppy Joe. Sloppy has done a phenomenal job since he has come in to the league. I know his worst finish so far this season was when he got wrecked and sent to the back on that last green-white checkered at Homestead. Um, and then even though he was battling for a win up there for the entire race up in the top 3. But since that point, I believe he got 3rd place at Martinsville, or no, 4th place at Martinsville. He got a 2nd place at Canadian Tire. Gosh, I think since that point, he's won every race that he's been in. So yeah, Sloppy. Good job, my man. Good job. And then, final award. I think y'all know who's going to get the final award. And I think this person, I said it already, he needs to control his emotions. He needs to control his aggression if something bad happens to him in the race. But I'm getting a little teary-eyed here. But so far, the clientele for the first half of 2019 goes to Mr. Joseph Lombard. Mr. Lombard, you back out of the race. You back out of the race at Martinsville, saying it's the game's fault. You freaking wrecked at Bristol, and you say it's the game's fault, but yet you freaking finished 5 laps down. It's not the game's fault that you finished 5 laps down. It's your fault, Mr. Lombard. It's your fault that you finished last. But, you know, Joey Stone is saying all we do is win, win, win. But Joseph Lombard is saying all we do is spin. So, yeah, Joseph, Joseph, please get your emotions together. Hey, if you want, I will do you a favor. If you need it, I am here to help you, Joseph. I am here to help you. If you need something to control your emotions, find yourself a nice little towel. It's okay to get frustrated, but if you gotta sop up the tears a bit like that, blow your nose a little bit, but you know, dude, you have potential, but like you lose your cool a lot, and I'm here to state the truth. And I think the truth is that you do a lot better if you didn't let your emotions get to you. So that's all I got to say about that. So with that being said, I don't think I got anything else to talk about except for your guys' questions. So I'm gonna scroll up top here. By the way, even if you post them already, just so I don't have to scroll all the way back. If you have questions and you've already put them before, put them down one more time. But I'm gonna scroll to the top here and see what questions that we got here. So let's see. Scroll all the way back to the beginning here. By the way, that's my roommate in the background. So, dang guys, where are y'all's questions? Awful. Why has okay? First question I got from Bean is why hasn't Ed raced? Bean, unfortunately, Ed has been sick with the flu or fever, whatnot, and he's just been like terrible for like about the past month. And like I know, like at least when I was down in Florida, I didn't have the flu or the fever, but congestion and like sinus like issues were going around like mad down there when I was down there for Christmas. And so yeah, he was just sick, but I heard that he should be back tonight. So there's that. That's my roommate, by the way. Da, da, da. Has the entry list been released? Yes, I think we're going to wait. I think Core's going to put that out. I don't want to say anything just yet because things may not be 100% official yet, but we do have an idea of who's going to be running. So, uh, let's see. Being, I'm not a boomer, dude. I was born in 1997, my man. I'm not a. I am the person. I'm. If anything, I am like towards the well, what top edge. Like I'm like one like like I may consider it either like on the tail end of the millennial or like the beginning of Gen Z. I don't know how they determine the generations, but yeah. So let's see here. Is Eric Estep racing? I have no idea. Eric, someone, someone contact uh Eric Estep and tell him that Workman really wants to see him out on this racetrack. Okay, I want to see it. I'm a good fan. I'm a big fan of his Out of the Grooves. I like that. I want to see him race though. I know he was. I will say though, I know that he was live streaming the other night, so he has his PS4 with them. But I want to know if he's racing. Oh, by the way, I think I will say this. I don't think I'll get in trouble for saying this, but we will have, at least to my knowledge, we will have someone racing tonight that who is on the Core League roster, who has not run a race yet, and I think a lot of people have been looking forward to this guy. It's not Eric, but maybe Eric, maybe Racing. I'm not sure, but the guy I'm talking about is not Eric. It is someone else. So you guys should tune in tonight for the race for that. So, Bean, I will not answer that question because that series is not related to this series. So, anyway, okay, so we got about the only questions we have. That sucks. So, all right. Well, that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed this tonight. And then once again, I just want to say uh, to the core guys, thank you for having me as part of the broadcast team. It's fun to be able to call the accident with MDK and give a esports driver perspective of everything. And then, I mean, come on. Who else is going to give out crying towels? Who else is going to be the reincarnated Jim Dispenser? Someone has to, right? So, yeah, we'll go with that. No one else can do it. So, alrighty, guys, that is it. Thank you guys so much for joining in and tuning in. This really means a lot to see the amount of people who have come in and watched this. Um, yeah, this has been amazing. This amount of like, just like with being part of the core league, like my personal following has increased on YouTube and Twitter. Which you get everyone who is not following me. Why aren't you following me yet? Why aren't you following like the biggest free agent in all of eNASCAR Heat Pro League, by the way? So we'll see. But anyway, that's not the point. So anyway, guys, again, thanks for joining tonight. The broadcast will be live. Hey, we're 2 hours from the pre-race show, guys. 7:30 Eastern time. Pre-race show goes live, and then right after the pre-race show, me and MDK will be going to it. Spoiler alert for those who are watching, and as a thank you to those who are watching. For the past couple of years, whenever NBC has gone to Watkins Glen to broadcast it, they have done radio style. So tonight, we have to do it a little bit differently, but tonight, me and MDK will be broadcasting the race radio style. You'll still see, live broadcasts of the race and everything from camera angles and like you usually do. And we'll still give kind of like our regular commentary from side to side, but just because it is our last road course of the season, and we want to kind of switch some things up a little bit. Part like some of the race when bits and pieces of the race tonight, it's going to be radio style. So I'm extremely happy to be a part of that, and like we're going to do this little new format, and it should be entertaining. So once again, guys, thank you guys so much for watching Core Pre-Race Live at 7:30 Eastern Time at the Core League YouTube channel with the race immediately after that. So thank you guys so much for watching. God bless. Take care.